I'm Danielle Houston. I am the host of this podcast, The Checkup. I am also a client advisor of People Solutions at Locked In Companies. If you've been listening to the podcast or following us on YouTube for any stretch of time, you have seen some great messages from your HR peers, people who are in the trenches with you, doing the work that you're doing it, and they're just doing it somewhere else. And there are times that I come across an individual who has a message or has learned something that when I hear it, I think there's some great nuggets there that would be great to share within the HR community. And today I have one of those for you. And it comes from Andrew Norman. He's the HR director of Pexco Aerospace. And it just so happened I was on LinkedIn and I saw this updated status, and he was sharing some excitement about high scores of an employee engagement survey. And I thought that's a little unique. So I reached out, and here we are today. I'm excited to introduce you to Andrew. And Andrew, would you just say hello and share with folks a little bit about you and your organization?
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm Andrew Norman, the HR director here at Pexco, as Danielle said. And we're Pexco Aerospace. We're out here in Yakima, Washington, and we make plastic parts that go on airplanes. A lot of our customers you probably are familiar with, like Alaska Airlines, Boeing, United Airlines. So anytime you're on a flight, you're probably seeing or in contact with some of our products. And we've got about a little over 100 employees out here in Yakima, and we're part of a larger organization called the TransTime Group. And they're our parent company, but they really have a philosophy of letting individual units run independently for the most part. So, out here in Pexco, I'm responsible along with our senior leadership team for making sure that it's a great place to work.
Yeah. And we are thankful for quality parts on an airplane. So
Definitely.
maybe share that with your team. Thank you so much. One of the things that I thought might be a great place to start too is that it would be very easy for me or one of your HR peers to be looking at, a LinkedIn post and see your excitement and think you must not have had the same kinds of challenges they do. You must have a huge budget. Maybe your industry is somehow a favored industry, not experiencing some of the turnover and other challenges that we hear so much about. And that really could not be further from your truth. So, can you just share with us, where did it start?
Yeah, so aerospace took a real big hit during the COVID pandemic, and our company was not spared. We went through a very dark time and we laid off over half of the company. We eliminated all events, we eliminated all of our traditions. Part of the reason was budget cuts, but also part of the reason was you just couldn't gather, anymore. And so, as a result of that era, our employee engagement survey scores were at an all-time low. Just last year in 2021, they were low as they've ever been. And so, as things kind of calmed down with the pandemic, we got a new president in, and that's John Page, and he's a big proponent on kind of rebuilding the culture in our traditions. And so, working with him coming in, we kind of had an opportunity to kind of have a rebirth of the company and kind of define what we wanted to do. And so, I had been here for several years, so I was able to kind of tell him about some of the key traditions and some of the things that work really well here. And so he really, was interested in that and has really been a big supporter of engagement because, as we all know, if an employee's engaged, they're going to work harder and they're going to do a good job just because they feel like they're part of something bigger. And so, it wasn't that we had an easy time. We had a very tough time. I mean, laying off over half the company just was devastating. I mean, it was painful. When I think back of those times, I mean, it was like I was in the room letting people go personally, and so that was, tough to do. That hurt. So, we really wanted to take a real opportunity to rebuild in 2022, and so some of the things that we do, um, as Danielle mentioned, was the post that caught her attention was the brisket. And
Mhm.
so our company here, they're really big on barbecue. And what I've learned over the years is our night shift team, when I'm talking with them and what they want, the answer is always barbecue. And it's not, they don't want breakfast, they don't want anything else. They want brisket preferably. And so John Page ended up buying us a Traeger smoker grill that we could use whenever we wanted to have a get together. And so just having that right here on site has a lot of excitement. You've got some of our people out there that are really good at operating the Traeger. I personally don't know how, but we've got Frank Sandoval, who's been here 38 years, who's one of the, kind of the barbecue masters. And so he's out there. It just brings a lot of excitement to have these events. And so, then I post that on LinkedIn just to make everybody know that it's kind of a work hard, play hard company. We work hard. They work 12-hour shifts out in production, but we're going to reward them too, and we're going to have a good time. We're going to take a break where we all get together and have lunch and kind of have a good time, because what I've noticed is nobody ever has a frown on their face when they're eating brisket. They're always smiling and having a good time. And
Mhm.
so that's one of our things that we've been doing lately. So
Yeah. And there are a couple of things that I take out of all you just said. One is that you have a really great relationship with your CEO,
mhm.
and you guys have this shared vision,
Yep.
and great communication. The other thing that I take from that is you didn't just throw a bunch of stuff out to employees to see what they like. You asked them first
Mhm.
and you're listening.
Yeah.
And maybe the third thing is food brings people together, whether it's brisket or breakfast or whatever your people want. Building community around food seems to be a great winner in most circles.
Yeah, and another thing on that same topic is our new president hosts a monthly roundtable where he gets a group of employees from around the company, so production, office, quality engineering, a mixed group, and just has an hour coffee conversation with them, asks them how things are going, learns more about their life. He shares stories about him. So really just kind of bringing that connection, because it really does start at the top. If employees feel that they can have a relationship with the president of the company, or any senior leader, really, that
Right.
goes a long way. It helps them, kind of feel valued, and they're more likely to, work hard and do a good job if they feel like they're valued by the top leadership.
Yes. And no matter size of an organization, those are things any business could adapt and take in to their company. A CEO
Yeah.
roundtable with employees, a manager doing that with employees, a lot of different ways that can come together, because we
Hmm.
do know, and you and I have talked about this, everything that we know about talking with people tells us they want to be in organizations where they are more than just an employee. They're seen as a whole person. Maybe
Yep.
they don't want to share a lot about what personal life looks like, but they do want to be viewed as more than the person who spends 12 hours on the production floor or whatever else that role might entail. Um, there were some other things too that you talked about that I know you're really proud of that your
Hmm.
organization does. And I would love for you to share those things. And as you're listening or watching this, I would really encourage you to, when you're listening to this, realize some of these things really are so simple. It just takes the intention
Yeah.
and it takes some time. But again, no matter your size or your makeup of an organization, you could you could take on to some of this. So Andrew, would you just keep sharing with us some of those things we talked about?
Yeah, the first one that jumps to my mind is the handwritten anniversary notes that our president does for every single employee on every single anniversary. So when he first started, he went out and met people, got to know their names, learned something about them. So then he's got kind of a context to work with to write these notes. And so he'll write a personalized note to each individual person. And when I go out on the floor, employees come up to me and they're like, look at this note I got from John Page. And, they'll let me read it. And I think it's pretty cool to get a handwritten note. I know personally, he wrote a note for me as well, and I have it up in my office. It's just a good feeling to get a handwritten note from the president, but it could be from a manager, a vice president, whoever's the leader of the team could do this. And it's not just doing the note, it's having that background information on the people to know a little something to make that note stand out. And it's not the same note. It's got to all be different, because employees will talk and they'll say, oh, I got a note. Oh, I got the same note. It's all rubber stamped. It's not going to have the impact. So you have to have that context and do the legwork in
Personal.
advance to make it personal. The other thing that we do are weekly videos. So our president does a weekly video that goes out to every single employee. It's like a little YouTube video, and they can watch it whenever it's convenient. They can watch it on the phone. And it just talks about how we're doing as a company. Are we meeting our sales numbers or not? Because that's important too. But also, are we having a barbecue? Did we do something really well that he wants to recognize us for? And then we're going to have a little get together to celebrate. Are we doing any community service events? Any opportunities there that we can get together and go help the community, because that's important for us as well. So it's just a real easy way to stay engaged, so that, because in any given week, you might not have time to go out and talk with all 100+ employees, but he's got time to do a 3-minute video. So everybody has a touch point that week, and he never misses a week, and he does them all in one take. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, when he messes up, it's almost better, because people realize that he's just a normal guy, So that's another big thing. And the other thing that I'll mention is we're huge on logo wear. So company logo wear, shirts, sweatshirts, hats. We just got these hats in here. Let me see if I can show it on there.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so those just came in today. And so we're going to give one of those to every single employee. And if we have extras, we'll give those out too, so that they can have their family members wearing the PEXCO logo. Because what I found is, if you see your employees wearing the logo wear that you give out, whether it's at work or especially out in the community, that means that they're engaged. That means that when somebody says, hey, I see your PEXCO hat, how do you like working there? They're probably going to say they like working there. And so we just are really big on giving out logo wear, so that people can have pride in where they work and show others in the community that they're proud to work at PEXCO.
It does show pride, right? If people are willing to wear that when they're at the grocery store, at the kids' game, it means something a little bit more than wearing it when you're just at work.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to emphasize, because this is something I took away from our last conversation too, and you talk about your president going out and talking with people.
Mm-hmm.
It can seem like a small thing, but I don't think it is. And what you're seeing also says it's really not a small thing to have your leader walk around and talk with people who are getting dirty, doing the work. You've mentioned he's not afraid to get dirty and do the work, and neither are you. You guys spend time out there. But the other key importance of knowing someone's name. There's just a certain, there's some, statistics out there and research around the way someone feels when you know their name, or you want to get it right and you remember. And someone having that kind of a personal connection is tremendous. Definitely. Not hard, but intentional. It has to be intentional.
Yeah, one of the things that we also have is a board with everybody's picture in our lunchroom, so that everybody can see everybody's name and picture. So it just helps any new person get to know the lay of the land. It's by department. So that way anybody that's new can kind of look at that and figure out who's who. And the other thing that John did when he first started was he went out and, like you mentioned, got dirty and worked a shift. So ran plastic with some of our operators so that he really truly understood what it meant to make a part. And it's really easy for some leaders to just say, you should make that part faster, better, and just start, putting out demands without any context about what it really takes. And it's not an easy thing to do to get our plastic parts to meet all of the FAA certifications and have that appearance. And when customers are flying on an airplane, they think it looks like a beautiful part. So he was willing to do that so that when he's making decisions in the office side, he's got a context of what it really means to the operators out in production. So, and then the relationships are built that way too. We spent a shift out there working with some of our employees, and so they're going to have that connection, and he's going to learn, what they like to do on the weekends, what's their family situation. So just the more time that he can spend out there, I think really goes a long way. I've seen it both ways where, people don't do that and it doesn't turn out as well. So invest the time invest it early in your, if you're starting as a new leader, invest that time in early, because you're going to build that rapport, and it's just going to make the job that much easier if you can get the buy-in from the employees.
Right. Rapport and respect, they do go hand in hand.
Yep, that's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise they'll try to just do enough not to get fired, right? If they don't respect you.
Right.
Versus, hey, I want to do my best. I want to get parts in a box. I want to get this to our customers because I like working here, because I respect our leadership. Not, oh, you know what, it's just a job and I just, I'm just here, do enough not to get fired. So trying to take it to that next level of engagement to where people want to be here, they want to do a good job. They don't call in sick, they are here, they want to be here. And that's what we're looking for.
Yeah. Everyone is, right?
Mhm.
And I think sometimes, not that there isn't some parts of science perhaps to apply to the process, but sometimes I don't think it's as complicated as we want to make it, as much as just this need to do what you're talking about, getting your leadership engaged and helping them to be good with people and care about people, and
Mhm.
then letting that be the part that drives the engagement and brings people together.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about your baseline survey,
Mhm.
where things had started, the rough road you all have been through together.
Right.
You have mentioned that you do surveys every year and that it's evolved over time.
Mhm.
Tell us today, what is that survey like? What are you really trying to get out of it?
Yeah, so our survey used to be, around 20 questions. And I think that kind of eliminated some people's willingness to take the survey just because it was just too many questions. They're like, oh, I don't have time for that. So working with John, and the leadership team here, we said, okay, let's reduce this down to just a few questions. What are we really trying to get at? And the main thing that I am trying to get at is, will an employee recommend Pexco as a place to work to a friend or a family member? So, that tells me that they like it here so much that it's a good job. That it goes beyond engagement though. It's the pay, the benefits, it's safe, it's a stable work environment where they trust. Coming out of the COVID era, they trust that we are going to provide a stable place of employment where they don't have to worry every day about, do I have a job or not? So everything's going so well, they're willing to say to their sister, brother, kid that you should try to get on at Pexco because I like it there so much. It's such a good place to work that I think that you should work there. And so that's really the question that I'm most interested in. And the other one that's really important too is we ask about the relationship with their supervisor, because we all know how important that is. That's kind of their main contact every day. So we want to make sure that that relationship is strong, it's respectful,
Mhm.
And we've got a lot of supervisors that have been here a long time, so they've built this relationship over time, and that's one of our strongest scoring questions. Is people feel that they've got a really strong and respectful relationship with their supervisor. So
Huge.
those are going very well. Kind of coming into this out of COVID era for us. So I think we're doing pretty well there.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Will you share what your participation rate was in your last survey?
Yeah, we had 90% participation, so
Yeah,
almost everybody took the survey, and so that says a lot too.
it
Just their
does.
willingness to take a survey because they didn't have to.
Yeah,
And I believe the year before it was quite a bit lower. It was more like 70%. So people are willing to take the survey, and they're putting in some comments too, stuff that we didn't know about, some blind spots, and then we're able to take quick action to go out and address those. So it's just a good check-in. I mean, the stuff we do every day is more important than the survey, going out there,
right.
talking with employees, having the events, all of that. But it's a good check-in because some people might not be willing or as open to share things. They might only be more comfortable on an anonymous survey to put in how they think. So it's just another tool in the toolkit to ensure that you're on the right track.
Yeah. Well, I have really enjoyed listening to the things that you and your organization have built and put together. Your heart for people and your people, I think, is so evident when you talk about what you're doing there at Pexco. Are you guys hiring? I
So
mean,
right
I'm not looking, but somebody might be looking.
Right now, we're fully staffed, but our plan for next year is to do a fairly significant number of hires, for us. We're about 100 employees now, and I predict in the next year we'd be looking to hire probably around 10 or so people. As we
Mhm.
slow and steadily grow back, after COVID, we're trying to match our employment with the sales to make sure that we do have those stable, full-time jobs for people. We want to be really sure that the sales are there, and we're confident that when we make a hire, it's a real hire for a real job for a long time. So that's why we are really cautious on hiring. So nothing open at the moment, but keep eyes on LinkedIn, and that's where I always post. When we're looking for somebody, I'll post it on LinkedIn. So
Yeah. Will do. Well, that's one of the things that I have heard very consistently that I would say is a theme when I would think of you or your organization. Intentionality is one
mhm.
of them, even in your hiring and your talk of bringing people back. I'm sure um, not only can I kind of relate to the challenges you experienced as you were laying people off, but
Mhm.
I could imagine there would be this really big desire to bring as many people back as fast as you can.
Right. Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
and this real thoughtfulness about balancing out this need to create that stability for people so they feel secure knowing they're going to get hired and they're going
Mhm.
to stay there because you're not trying to do something where you'll need to turn around and then have more layoffs again. But a
Right.
great a great foundation where people can come in and feel secure.
Yeah, exactly. Because if I'm gonna ask somebody to leave another job, I want to make sure that our job truly is better and stable. So that's definitely why I take that personally.
Mm,
Because it's not just Pexco, it's my name. When I do a hiring, I want to make sure that I've got a real opportunity that's really going to benefit somebody.
yeah, good advice. Um, are you open to LinkedIn connections from your HR peers and
Yeah, yeah,
colleagues?
definitely. Yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn.
Great. Well, thank you for your willingness to share. I can imagine there will be some people who listen that really have kind of the light bulb moment around some of the easy ways they can work with their leadership and work with their people to create a space that feels more safe and respectful
Mhm.
and secure, and a place where the care that they have for their employees will be even more visible. So thank you for your willingness to share.
Yeah.
And for all of you who are listening, I would encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on iTunes. And if you have some advice or your stories of learning that you'd like to share with your HR community, I'd love to help you tell that story. So thank you for listening to us today. And until next time, take good care.